the narrative, or some of the narratives surrounding this Tyre Nichols case, is very troubling to me. And it's not only troubling, but it's annoying. And I'm just not interested in educating or trying to convince white supremacists of anything anymore. I'm just not interested. But, the fact that these cops are black, the cops that killed Tyre Nichols are black, isn't news to anybody outside of so-called white conservatives and their minions of color. This is not a novelty. Okay, like, black people been knew that black cops are just as harsh towards them as white cops. The color of the police officer is almost immaterial in how they treat the public. Those black cops would have never beaten a white person to death the way they beat Tyre Nichols to death. It just wouldn't happen. You can't give me a laundry list of names of white people who have been killed by black cops in a unjust and uncalled for manner that is in any way similar to Tyre Nichols. And a lot of these immigrants, these immigrants of color, the so-called conservatives of color, they're, getting their digs in. Oh, Memphis is so crime ridden and stuff that has nothing to do with the situation at hand. It was black cops, so it was black on black crime. And, the white conservatives are saying pretty much the same thing. But, if you go to any video of black cops giving the business to a black person, you will see in the comment section all kind of racist language is directed towards the person who's on the receiving end of a black cop's abuse. So to say that Tyre Nichols case has no racial element to it is nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Because they know that black cops do the bidding of the white power structure. They know that black cops profile black people. And, they're trying to throw these black cops under the bus, and these black cops certainly deserve to be thrown under the bus, but they're trying to use these black cops as a novelty of sorts, rather than a microism of a bigger problem. You see, mainstream news outlets since 2020, they have been very careful about publicizing or reporting on cases of police violence or crimes committed by police. But when it comes to alternative news outlets and social media, if you're tuned into those outlets, you will get a daily barrage of police misconduct, police violence, crimes committed by police officers, almost on a daily basis. But the mainstream news outlets, CNN, ABC News, CBS News, Fox News, of course, they don't report on those things. The only case that the mainstream news media has reported on recently, well, this was a couple months ago, the only case they reported on was the case out of Arkansas with the white cops beating on a white guy outside of a convenience store in Arkansas. That's the only case they reported on, since 2020. And of course, very recently, they only reported on Tyre Nichols case, with the black cops beating up a black man. And I think they're trying to, I think they're calling themselves trying to take the racial element out of cases of police brutality. I think that's what they're trying to do, but it's not going to work, and it's not working. I mean, I hope black people aren't foolish enough to think that black cops are any different than white cops, because they're not. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, and, you know, everybody, all these white conservatives are trying to make this seem like a one-off. You know what I'm saying? When it's not. And they're trying to talk about, well, the liberals call for the defunding of police and they're demonizing police, and, the law enforcement was forced to hire people with criminal records to be in their department. You know what I'm saying? Because they're demonizing police. So these cops have criminal records, or at least some of them have criminal records. And that's the reason why, this situation happened. And that's bogus, because there is very little distinction between cops with criminal records and cops without criminal records. There's very little distinction. There's very little difference in behavior. There's very little difference in behavior. You know what I'm saying? There was a white cop on the scene who said, I hope they stump his, what, did he have a criminal record? I mean, for one, long before this anti-police movement even begun, long before the defund the police movement even, got sparked, you had cops, police officers who had criminal records before they became police officers. I mean, Daryl Gates, the former chief of the LAPD, had a criminal record before he became a cop. He actually punched a cop in the face before he became a cop. He had a criminal record. Their favorite black conservative, Brandon Tatum, also had a criminal record before he became a cop. He was arrested at, I think, 12 years old. So this notion that, police violence spawns from hiring police officers with criminal records is nonsense. Because the behavior is consistent. The behavior has always been consistent. It has nothing to do with whether they had a criminal record or not.